Another day in the life of a carnivore. I'm gonna have some lamb chops today. This is just a new air fryer I'm trying out, and I'll be talking about that in another video. All right, here's an interesting one here. Where can I find your carnivore diet plan? Also, what butters do you cook your meat with? My diet plan is pretty simple. Eat ruminant meats, put salt on them, cook them. Drink water, drink club soda, but don't drink anything else. Don't drink stuff that's got anything else in it. That's pretty much my diet plan. I mean, that's about as easy as you could ask for. Now, I understand that there's some difficulty figuring out how to cook certain things because I went through that process myself. I started off by cooking them on the stove, putting hamburger patties and steaks or whatever on a skillet on the stove. But what I didn't like about that is that would cause grease and stuff to splatter everywhere, all over the stove and on the counter and on you. So that wasn't my favorite way to cook. And at the time, I wasn't using any vegetable oils, and I'm still not using any vegetable oils. I also didn't use butter, so I wasn't sure what to do. I did find that that was a difficult way to cook because it would often wind up burning or sticking to whatever type of pan I was using, whether it was a non-stick coating or stainless steel. Stainless steel was harder for me to cook with. I'm not a chef. I don't know what it takes to be a chef. I'm not interested in becoming a chef either. But I did have to learn to start cooking for myself. So after I got away from the pots and pans, I decided I'm gonna give the grill a try. I'm not much of a grill guy either. You know how some people love to grill? I'm not one of those people. One of the biggest reasons is I don't like having to scrape all the stuff off the grill and scrape it off the top of everything on the inside and all the bottom and on the inside and then cleaning out all the ashes. Just not my thing. I'm not interested in getting into all that cleaning just so that I can make one meal or cook food one time in general. I want something that's going to be simpler in the long run. And that was important because I grew up in a generation that was used to convenience. So I've kind of patterned my life around having the convenience of fast food or food being readily available, or having the kind of food you used to see on my shelf tops over here where there was just, you could just pull it out of the box and eat it, which is the way most people are used to eating these days. So I had to find something that was going to work even better. And that's why I started using air fryers. This is one of several air fryers I've used over the past few years. I personally haven't really found one I don't like, but I found that there are benefits in air fryers. Some of them have more benefits than other air fryers. The thing about the air fryer I love is I don't have to put any butter or anything else on it. I just put the meat in the air fryer as it is, and it comes out ready to eat. Now, I do cover them with salt before I put them in there, and I've started using things like Redmond smoked salt to give my steak a little bit of flavor that I don't get when I don't use a smoker or some other sort of outdoor cooker. But again, I'm not against outdoor cooking. I'm not against using a smoker. I'm not against using a grill. I just have to be able to cook food every day without having a tremendous amount of cleaning to do. So that's one of the reasons I stick with the air fryer. Now, I have branched out and started to cook different things in different ways. Like I did a video not too long ago where I cooked a prime rib for the first time, and I covered it with Wagyu beef tallow. That was a better way for me to get the crust I was looking for on the exterior that would stay nice and juicy as well, and then I put the salt on top of that. The key is just finding ways to get the doggone meat hot so that I can eat it. When it comes to lamb chops, I prefer rare. When it comes to liver, I prefer rare. When it comes to steaks, I'm more of a medium rare to medium guy. Hamburgers, definitely medium. And anything above that, to me, is just, you're denaturing the meat too much to really get any vitamins out of it. So most of all, in answer to your question, is just keep it simple. That's what I like to do. Keep it simple. Don't go overboard. You can do all kind of other fancy stuff you want to do. I do also have videos on my channel where I take meats that I cut frozen into small little chips, put salt on them, dehydrate them, and then I've got snack food around. I do some cooking on cast iron, but cast iron is another thing that takes a few more steps in the process. Plus, you got to be kind of good at it, and I'm not. So I just say keep it simple. I love the air fryer for that purpose. How many times do you eat a day, and how much, and what fat protein ratio? Again, this is another area where I just keep it simple. I don't worry about how many times I eat in a day, unless I'm maybe making a video series where I'm talking about doing one meal a day or something like that, or I'm doing fasting. But generally, 99% of the time, I just eat when I'm hungry. I woke up this morning and a lot of times I'll eat very early. today I didn't start to feel hungry until whatever time it is now, which it's 11:46 in the morning. So I'm warming up something to eat, and I got some work to do on the computer after this. So it really just depends on when I'm hungry is when I'm going to eat. Now I try to keep myself somewhat on a routine. I try to eat as early as I can on my first meal, right after I do my morning exercise, and then I try to eat my last meal before 6 o'clock if I can, because I typically go to bed around 11:30 at night. Last night I went to bed at 10:30, so I mean it varies on when I go to bed, but I wake up almost the same time every morning. I find that my circadian rhythm keeps me in a 6-hour sleeping schedule, because like last night I went to bed early. I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning and I was ready to get up already, but I am trying to keep myself on a sleep schedule, so I stayed in bed until 6 o'clock, even though I was mostly awake most of that time. So the point of all that is I try to pattern my eating habits around a good sleep schedule. It's not always easy to do depending on the job I'm doing. I mean, since I've been a carnivore, I've worked basically 4 or 5 different jobs, and some of them have had me getting up as early as 4 in the morning to be at work by 5, or some of them were I didn't have to be at work until the late afternoon. I had a job with UPS where I didn't have to get there until almost midnight, and I worked all through the night. So I've kind of experienced every type of work schedule there is since I've been on Carnivore. But I look at it as all beneficial, because it's been able to open up my perspective that a lot of you guys are going to be having on the different work schedules that you're working. The one thing I can tell you is, no matter what I do, I want to be able to work on a schedule that's going to get me on a circadian rhythm that has me going to bed when the sun goes down or after the sun goes down, and waking up before the sun gets up. That way I'm on the circadian rhythm that we were designed to operate within. I think when we start to operate outside of a natural way, that's when we start to have problems overall. As far as how much fat and protein I get, I've never counted macros. The closest thing I got to ever counting anything like that was I would record what I was eating for about a 3-month period on some app, and that was telling me basically how many calories I was getting. And I was getting anywhere between 2,500 to 3,000 calories a day. I'm probably keep it around 2,500 calories a day right now. As far as the fat ratio, I would say that over the past 1.5 years, I've had a higher fat ratio because I've been adding more fat to my meats. And the first 1.5 years, I didn't consider adding fat or subtracting fat. I just bought the meat that it came from the store and I ate it that way. I ate a lot of steaks, and I've gone to where I eat a lot more ribeyes. That's about a 1-to-1 ratio as far as calories go. Now I'm eating lamb today, which is a much lower fat to protein content ratio. The only thing I can say about fat and protein that I have really regulated is if I notice I'm having a harder time going to the bathroom. If going number 2 is difficult, then I need to increase my fat intake. If going number 2 is a little bit too easy, then I need to decrease my fat intake. Other than that, I really don't think about it. The only reason I really give any of these concepts a consideration is because after I started eating this way, I found out about the carnivore community online. I had only made my first video thinking, hey, I'm going to share this with the guys who play video games with me and watch my channel on YouTube, which at the time had 300 subscribers. And I thought, well, you know, they're like me. They're guys in their late 30s on up to their mid 50s like I am, and some of them were even older than that. But like most of us who spend too much time playing games, they're probably struggling to get a little bit of extra weight off. And I thought, well, you know, I had done a low carb diet once years ago, and I knew I was going to lose a lot of weight. I was probably pushing 280 pounds when I started eating. And I figured, well, this will be something I can show these people at the very least, if it doesn't fix all my problems, that it's at least going to help me lose some weight, which is always a great thing. It feels good, and it's healthier when you don't have all that extra weight on you. So there's my wife's lunch. So like I said, that's why I started keeping up with a lot of these other things. That's why I tried checking the blood work so I could see if I was in ketosis or not and what my blood sugar is like. Almost all the gains, and when I say gains, I mean losing weight and getting healthier and getting off of all the medicines and stuff like that. All of that came without watching any of that stuff. All I was doing was making sure I was getting the food hot and not adding anything that wasn't ruminant meat, water, or salt. I had to struggle to get beer and other alcohol out of my life for a little while. I had to struggle getting several vices out of my life. That's one of the things that's been so wonderful about this way of eating, is it's helped me to do a lot of things that have been healthier for me overall, physically, mentally, and even spiritually. And I go into that in other videos, so be sure to check out some of those. And hopefully, if you haven't ever considered a carnivore way of eating, you'll take my before and after picture and just take that and start to think, maybe he is doing something right. Maybe I should look into a carnivore way of eating to change things for my life, to be strong enough to do the things I need to do for my family, because that's the reason I started. What's your reason? You're gonna need one, because it's not easy to make this change. There's a lot of change that has to come into your life to really adapt to doing something like this, but it's worth it. Anyway, that's all I got for this one, guys. I'll see you next time.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?